Board will now come to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Middlebrook.
Present.
Alderman Bosley. Alderwoman Hubbard.
Present.
Not anymore.
Garcia.
Hey, door.
Present.
Alderman Coulter.
Here.
Alderwoman Rice.
Here.
Alderman Gunther.
Here.
Alderman Vollmer.
Present.
Alderwoman Martin.
Present.
Alderwoman Murphy.
Present.
Alderwoman Howard.
Present.
Alderwoman Green.
Present.
Alderman Oldenburg.
Present.
Alderman Rhodey.
Present.
Alderman Todd. Alderwoman Davis.
Present.
Alderwoman Spencer.
Present.
Alderman Muhammad. Alderman Boyd.
Present.
Alderman Vaccaro.
Present.
Alderman Narayan.
Present.
Alderman Cone. Alderwoman Clark Hubbard.
Here.
Alderwoman Boyd. Alderwoman Navarro. President Reed.
Here.
Alderwoman Tyus. Alderman Bosley.
Present.
Alderman Todd.
Present. Present.
Alderman Muhammad. Alderman Cone.
Present.
Alderwoman Boyd. 24 present.
Quorum being present, we will be led today in prayer by Kim Westerman from Moms Demand Action. But before we begin prayer, I'm going to ask everyone if you'll join me in a moment of silence for Captain David Dorn, who was senselessly murdered outside Lee's Pawn and Jewelry on Monday evening. And for this, also please pray for the speedy recovery of the 4 police officers that were shot. And then the 71 homicide victims that we've had in St. Louis up until now, and 1,000 shootings across our city. And please, also join me in a moment of silence for 132 deaths that we had for, due to coronavirus. And please send prayers out to the 2,034 cases so that they can have a speedy recovery. So please join me in a moment of silence and silent prayer. Kim Westerman will now lead us in prayer.
This is a prayer called Let the Shooting End from the Sisters of Mercy. God, our hearts are broken with pain at the senseless deaths caused by gun violence. Families mourn, children live in fear, and some in our nation respond by arming themselves with more guns with greater capacity to end life. We ask that you touch our hearts with your love, heal our brokenness, and turn us away from violence toward peace. Help us to transform our own hearts and to seek peaceful ways of resolving our differences. Let our hands reach out and connect with those who feel alone, those who live in fear, and those suffering from mental illness. Let our voices be raised, asking our legislators to enact gun laws to protect all in our society, especially those most vulnerable. Let our pens write messages demanding change, while also scripting words of hope and transformation. We ask this in the name of the God who desires that we live together in peace. Amen.
Amen. Let's give a round of applause and thank you to Kim and Moms Demand Action for all the work that you all do.
Thank you.
Kim, would you like to say something about Gun Violence Awareness Day and before you leave and the importance of it?
Sure. Yeah, I'm Kim Westerman. I'm a proud resident of the 19th Ward, and I'm with Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America. Just briefly, if you aren't familiar with us, we work to end gun violence through a wide variety of efforts, addressing all sorts of gun violence, not only homicides, but suicides by gun, unintentional shootings by children, police violence, mass shootings, hate crimes, etc. We really want to thank all of you on the Board of Aldermen for your support of our work and or for working with us to help on gun violence and all the work you do in your own communities, especially funding Pure Violence this year and passing that bill regarding failed background checks. So thank you. And tomorrow is our big Wear Orange event, which recognizes National Gun Violence Awareness Day, which is today. It's going to be an online rally this year on Facebook Live. We're going to be honoring victims and survivors. We'll have speakers from around the state, and we'll have a grand finale with our own St. Louis story stitchers, who are always fabulous. So if anyone wants to join us, and I hope you will, look for us on Facebook at momsdemandaction.mo or / momsdemandaction-mo.
Right. Thank you so much, Kim, for joining us, and thank you and all the other members all across the country, over 6.5 million members now. Thank you all for all the work that you're doing. We dispense with line item 3, introduction of honored guests. Any introduction of honored guests? Alderman from the 23rd. Alderman from the 23rd.
I'm sorry, I didn't unmute myself. As always, I'd like to welcome my good friend Greg Meyer, who generally sits at my side and helps me during meetings, but certainly watches the meetings. So I'd like to welcome Greg as my special guest.
Welcome, Greg. Alderwoman from the 19th.
Thank you, Mr. President and members of the board. I'd like to have as my special guest today the many compassionate human beings who have protested for justice and the end to racial inequity across the world, most especially the young people. They will be the ones who change things. Thank you.
All right, thank you and welcome to all of them. Any further introductions? Alderman from the 10th, like to wrap us up?
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. Today is June the 5th, which is National Donut Day, so everyone go out and get your donuts. That's not do not, but donut. But more importantly, in 1752, this is the day that Mrs. Franklin made Ben famous when she said, "Hey, Ben, go fly a kite." Cover electricity. Thank you.
Oh, excellent. I appreciate the fact that she told him to go fly a kite. Approval of the minutes.
Approval of the minutes, May 29th, 2020.
Alderman from the 22nd, you recognize on approval of the minutes.
Mr. President, members of the board, I move for approval of the minutes dated May 29th, 2020.
Second.
Alderman from the 22nd, seconded by the Alderman from the 10th. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Report of city officials.
Report of city officials can be found in A, B, and C of the agenda and has been placed in the aldermen's mailboxes.
We'll dispense with line items 7 through 10, first reading of board bills.
Board Bill 42, sponsored by Alderman Todd, an ordinance requiring that whenever the building commissioner or their designee issues an order whereby a building or a structure is boarded up as a result of violation of the building code, which renders the condition of the building or structure detrimental to the health, safety, or welfare of residents thereof, and therefore constitutes a public nuisance. All entrances, windows on all floors of the building or structure shall be boarded up. Board Bill 43, sponsored by Alderman Bosley, an ordinance recommended by the Board of Public Service to conditionally vacate above surface and subsurface rights for vehicle, equestrian, and pedestrian travel in Elliott from North Market northwardly to Leffingwell from North Market as hereinafter described in accordance with charter authority and in conformity with section 1.4 of Article 21 of the charter and imposing certain conditions on such vacation. Board Bill 44, sponsored by Alderman Narayan, an ordinance for regulation and control of air pollution within the city of St. Louis, repealing ordinance 78137, approved October 31st, 2008. Ordinance 70607, approved July 19th, 2017, and ordinance 71146, approved May 7th, 2020, pertaining to the regulation and control of air pollution and enacting in lieu thereof a new ordinance for the purposes of clarity pertaining to the same subject matter and containing a severability clause, penalty clause, and an emergency clause. Board Bill 45, sponsored by Alderman Vollmer, an ordinance pertaining to the transit sale tax imposed pursuant to section 94.660 revised statutes of Missouri, as directing the treasurer of the city of St. Louis to deposit funds received pursuant to said sales tax into the city public transit sales tax trust fund account 1, appropriating $9,354,000 from the said sales tax for the period herein stated to the bi-state development agency for certain purposes and containing a severability and an emergency clause. Board Bill 46, sponsored by Alderman Vollmer, an ordinance pertaining to the transit sales tax imposed pursuant to section 94.660 revised statutes of Missouri, directing the treasurer of the city of St. Louis to deposit funds received pursuant to said sales tax into the city public transit sales tax trust fund account 2, appropriating $9,354,000 from the said sales tax for the period herein stated to the bi-state development agency for certain purposes containing a severability and emergency clause. Board Bill 47, sponsored by Alderman Vollmer, an ordinance appropriating the sum of $17,860,000 as described in section 94.600 through 94.655 revised statutes of Missouri 2000 as amended for the period herein stated, which sum is hereby appropriated out of the Transportation Trust Fund to the Bi-State Development Agency for transportation purposes containing a severability and emergency clause. Board Bill 48, sponsored by Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, an ordinance approving a redevelopment study and an ordinance approving a blighting study and a redevelopment plan for the 310 Debaliviere Avenue redevelopment area. Board Bill 49, sponsored by Alderman Vollmer and Alderwoman Davis, an ordinance recommended by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, wherein the Board of Aldermen authorized the receipt and of the appropriate funds under the CARES Act, the Federal Emergency Management Act Grant Program, the Bureau of Justice Assisted Coronavirus Emergency Supplemental Funding Program, the Community Development Block Grant Program, the Emergency Solutions Grant Program, and the Housing Opportunities for People with AIDS and Ryan White grant programs, all relating to the COVID-19 pandemic and containing an emergency clause. An ordinance recommended and approved by Board Bill 50, sponsored by Alderwoman Davis, an ordinance recommended and approved by the Airport Commission, the Comptroller, the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, making certain findings with respect to transfer of up to $4,500,000 of excess monies that the City of St. Louis, the owner and operator of St. Louis Lambert International Airport, intends to transfer from the Debt Service Stabilization Fund to the Operation and Maintenance Fund in accordance with Section 516B of the Lambert St. Louis International Airport Indenture of Trust between the city as grantor and UMB Bank as trustee, containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 51, sponsored by Alderman Jeffrey Boyd, an ordinance amending Section 1 of Ordinance 62101 codified in Chapter 17.62.010 of the Revised Codes of Ordinance of the City of St. Louis to designate the Parking Commissioner as chairperson of the Parking Commission and to designate the Parking Commission as the city's authority responsible for overseeing public parking, including planning, coordinating public parking policies, programs, and operations for any parking facility or area that is owned, leased, or otherwise managed or controlled by the parking division, whether in whole or part, to establish the duties and responsibilities of Parking Commission and to establish the duties and responsibility of the treasurer as the supervisor of parking meters. Board Bill 52, sponsored by President Reed and Alderman Vollmer, an ordinance recommended by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment authorizing a supplemental appropriation amending ordinance 70963, commonly referred to as the City of St. Louis Annual Operating Plan for fiscal year 2019-2020, appropriating and setting apart special funds revenues to address project revenue shortfalls in the general fund for the current fiscal year in the amount of $6,675,888 as hereinafter detailed and containing an emergency clause.
Madam Clerk, that's 76,000.
I'm sorry, $6,676,888 as herein detailed and containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 53, sponsored by Alderwoman Navarro, an ordinance approving the petition of an owner of certain real property to establish a community improvement district, establishing the Forest Park TOD Community Improvement District, finding a public purpose for the establishment of the Forest Park TOD Community Improvement District, and containing an emergency clause and containing a severability clause. Board Bill 54, sponsored by Alderwoman Davis, an ordinance approving a redevelopment plan dated May 26, 2020 for the 3306 Washington Boulevard area. Board Bill 55, sponsored by Alderman Rhodey, an ordinance approving the petition to establish the Iron Hill Community Improvement District, establishing the Iron Hill Community Improvement District as a political subdivision of the state of Missouri, confirming the prior determination that real estate within the Iron Hill Community Improvement District is a blighted area, finding the public purpose for the establishment of the Iron Hill Community Improvement District, approving appointment of the initial board of directors, containing an emergency clause and containing a severability clause. Board Bill 56, sponsored by Alderwoman Howard, an ordinance approving a blighting study and a redevelopment plan for the 4635 and 4627 Ridgewood Avenue redevelopment area. Board Bill 57, sponsored by Alderwoman Ingracia, an ordinance approving the petition for the creation of the Soccer Stadium Community Improvement District, establishing the Soccer Stadium Community Improvement District as a political subdivision of the state of Missouri, declaring the Soccer Stadium Community Improvement District to be located in a blighted area and containing a severability and an emergency clause. Board Bill 58, sponsored by Alderman Boyd, an ordinance submitting to the qualified voters of the City of St. Louis a proposal to revise Section 14C of Article 8 of the City of St. Louis Charter concerning the Department of Health and Hospitals, the position of the Director of Health and Hospitals, and the qualifications, therefore, the duties of the Director, the Division of Health, the Board of Health, and the Board of Hospital by amending the qualifications for the position of Director of Health and removing or revising provisions concerning hospitals to reflect that the city no longer owns or administers any hospital facilities, and providing for an election to be held for voting on the proposed revision and the manner of voting hereat, and for the publication, certification, deposit, and recording of this ordinance and containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 59, sponsored by Alderwoman Spencer, an ordinance approving a redevelopment plan dated April 21st, 2020 for 3919 and 3920 Minnesota Avenue area. Board Bill 60, sponsored by Alderman Boyd, an ordinance relating to the appointment of and salaries of certain employees in the Recorder's Office pursuant to Section 82.610 of the revised statutes of the state of Missouri by repealing Ordinance 70336, allocating certain other employees to a grade with rate and containing an emergency clause and an effective date. That is the extent of first reading of board bills.
Reference to committee.
To the Public Safety Committee, Board Bill 42. To the Streets Committee, Board Bill 43 and 51. To Health and Human Services Committee, Board Bill 44. To Ways and Means, Board Bill 45, 46, 47, 52, 53, 57, 55, and 57. To Neighborhood Development, Board Bill 48, 54, 56, and 59. To Transportation and Commerce, Board Bill 50. To the Legislation Committee, Board Bill 58. To the Special COVID-19 Committee, Board Bill 49. To Public Employee, Board Bill 60. That is the extent of reference to committee.
Second reading.
The following board bills were reported out of Transportation and Commerce Committee with a due pass recommendation. Board Bill 12, sponsored by Alderwoman Davis, and ordinance recommended and approved by the Airport Commission and the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, authorizing and directing the mayor and the comptroller on behalf of the City of St. Louis, the owner and operator of St. Louis Lambert International Airport, to accept a first supplemental agreement to Airport Aid Agreement for project number Air 196-113C1, offered by the Missouri Highway and Transportation Commission for the marketing and promotion of air service at the airport for a maximum obligation of $515,000 for the reimbursement of direct costs associated with the projects funded under the grant agreement, which extends the time period of the supplemental agreement by 6 months from June 30th, 2020 up to and including December 31st, 2020, and containing an emergency clause. The following Board Bill 28, sponsored by Alderman Kotor, Alderwoman Davis, Alderwoman Ingracia, Alderman Gunther, and Alderwoman Howard. An ordinance enlarging the boundaries of the City of St. Louis Port Authority, subject to the approval of Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission, and authorizing and directing certain actions by the Port Authority. The following board bill was reported out of the Streets Committee with a due pass recommendation. An ordinance recommended by the Parking Commission making appropriation for payment of the operating expenses, capital expenses, including lease, purchase agreements, and debt services expenses of the Parking Division of the Treasurer's Office for fiscal year July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021, in the sum of $17,560,584.
Including
$1,930,335 for capital improvements, including an emergency clause. That is the extent of second reading report of standing committee.
Dispense with line item 14, perfection consent.
Board Bill 21, sponsored by Alderman Vollmer, an ordinance recommended by the Planning Commission approving the name of a new public street located in City Block 4084 in the approved La Colina subdivision.
Alderwoman from the first.
Mr. President, members of the board, there was a little mix-up with myself and the clerk. I just wanted to report that the engrossment committee did engross Board Bill 25, which will be enrolled next week. And that was the board bill sponsored by the Alderwoman from the 20th Care Center regarding the health, well, it was a board bill for a health grant. And we did get it engrossed Wednesday, and we will enroll it next Wednesday.
Okay, all right, thank you. Alderman from the 22nd, you recognize on the perfection consent calendar of the aforementioned bill.
Mr. President, members of the board, I move for adoption of the perfection consent calendar.
Second.
Moved by the Alderman from the 22nd, seconded by the Alderman from the 10th. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
That is the extent of perfection consent calendar.
I got your message and I was gonna call you today.
We'll dispense with line item 16, third reading consent.
Board Bill 8, Board Bill 10, and Board Bill 16.
Alderman from the 22nd, you recognize on the motion for the third reading consent calendar.
Mr. President, members of the board, I move for adoption of the third reading consent calendar.
Second.
Moved by the Alderman from the 22nd, seconded by the Alderman from the 13th and the Alderman from the 10th. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Middlebrook.
Aye.
Alderman Bosley. Alderwoman Hubbard.
Aye.
Alderwoman Ingracia.
Aye.
Alderman Coder.
Aye.
Alderwoman Rice.
Aye.
Alderman Gunther.
Aye.
Alderman Vollmer.
Aye.
Alderwoman Martin.
Aye.
Alderwoman Murphy.
Aye.
Alderwoman Howard.
Aye.
Alderwoman Green.
Aye.
Alderman Oldenburg.
Aye.
Alderman Todd. I'm sorry, Alderman Rhodey.
Aye.
Alderman Todd. Alderwoman Davis.
Aye.
Alderwoman Spencer.
Aye.
Alderman Muhammad. Alderman Boyd.
Aye.
Alderman Vaccaro.
Aye.
Alderman Narayan.
Aye.
Alderman Cone. Alderwoman Clark.
Aye. Aye.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard.
Aye.
Alderwoman Boyd. Alderwoman Navarro.
Aye.
President Reed.
Aye.
Alderwoman Tyus.
Aye.
Alderman Bosley.
Aye. I thought I said aye. My mic was muted. Sorry.
Alderman Todd.
Aye. Aye.
Alderman Muhammad. Alderwoman Boyd. 25 aye votes.
By your vote, sustain the motion, Alderman from the 22nd and third read and finally pass the aforementioned bills. Third reading report of engrossments.
Board Bill 13, sponsored by Alderman Boyd. An ordinance recommended by the Parking Commission and the Board of Estimate and Apportionment making appropriation for the transfer of the sum of $5 million from the parking meter fund to the general reserve fund of the city of St. Louis to help offset expenditures from the general reserve fund necessitated by the COVID-19 pandemic and the extraordinary costs incurred by the city in its efforts to protect the health and well-being of the public and containing costs.
Alderman from the 22nd, you recognize on third reading, final passage of Board Bill number 13.
Mr. President, members of the board, I move for third reading and final passage of Board Bill number 13.
Moved by
Second.
Alderman from 22nd, seconded by Alderman from the 10th, and
Roll call.
Alderwoman from the 13th. Any further discussion? Any further? There's been a request for.
Roll call.
I got it, Alderman. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Alderwoman from first, did you have any discussion past the roll call? Any further
No,
discussion?
Mr. President, that's it.
All right, thanks. Alderman from the 22nd, you recognize the close.
Mr. President, members of the board, I renew my motion.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 22nd, seconded by the Alderman from the 10th and the Alderman from the 13th that we third read and final pass Board Bill number 13. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Middlebrook.
Aye.
Alderman Bosley.
Aye.
Alderwoman Hubbard,
Aye.
Alderwoman Gracia,
No.
Alderman Coulter,
Aye.
Alderwoman Rice,
No.
Alderman Gunther,
Aye.
Alderman Vollmer,
Aye.
Alderwoman Martin,
Aye.
Alderwoman Murphy,
Aye.
Alderwoman Howard,
Aye.
Alderwoman Green,
No.
Alderman Odenberg,
Aye.
Alderman Rhodey,
Aye.
Alderman Todd,
Present.
Alderwoman Davis,
Aye.
Alderwoman Spencer,
Aye.
Alderman Muhammad, Alderman Boyd,
Aye.
Alderman Vaccaro,
Aye.
Alderman Narayan,
Aye.
Alderman Cone, Alderwoman Clark Hubbard,
Aye.
Alderwoman Boyd, Alderwoman Navarro,
Aye.
President Reed,
Aye.
I did not hear Alderwoman Tyus.
You didn't hear Tyus? I said no.
Alderman Muhammad, Alderman Cone,
No.
Alderwoman Boyd, 19 aye votes, 5 no votes, and 1 present.
By your vote, you sustain the motion of the Alderman from the 22nd and third read and finally passed Board Bill number 13.
That's the reading, report, and engrossment.
Report of Enrollment Committee.
Board Bill 8, 10, 16, and 13.
All other business being suspended, the president shall in open session affix his signature hereto to the end that these may become law. Courtesy resolutions. Alderman from the 19th, you recognize on the motion for our courtesy resolutions calendar.
Mr. President, members of the board, I move to adopt our courtesy resolution calendar.
Moved by the Alderman from the 19th, entertain a second on that motion.
Second.
Seconded by the Alderman from the
Second.
9th and the Alderwoman from the 2nd, I believe. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion
Aye.
carries. First reading of resolutions.
Resolution 14, sponsored by Alderwoman Spencer, termination of preliminary application for the inclusion of St. Louis Lambert International Airport in the Federal Aviation Administration Airport Pilot Program.
Alderwoman from the 20th, you recognize on the first reading of resolution number 14.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is the resolution I brought to the floor last week. As we all know, hopefully, as seen in the news recently, the mayor has announced that she has pulled the application with the FAA. However, the representative from the FAA has indicated that the FAA has not quite received that communication. Therefore, I'd like to not quite pull this resolution, but maybe assign it to committee at your leisure, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you. Would you like to just make a motion to send it to transportation?
That would be fine. I move to hear it in the Transportation and Commerce Committee, Mr. President.
All right, thanks. Moved by the Alderman from the 20th. Entertain a second on that motion.
Second.
Seconded by the Alderman from the 25th and the Alderman from the 9th. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Madam Clerk, please sign resolution number 14 to transportation.
So noted. Resolution 16, sponsored by President Reed and Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, approve the City of St. Louis Senior Citizen Services Fund budget for fiscal year 2020-2021.
Alderwoman from the 26th, you recognize on the first reading of resolution number 16.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I'm requesting that resolution 16 to approve the City of St. Louis Senior Citizen Service Fund budget be assigned to the Health and Human Services Committee.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 26th. Entertain a second on that motion.
Second.
Seconded by the Alderman from the 14th and Alderman from the 23rd. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Madam Clerk, please assign resolution number 16 to Health and Human Services.
So noted. That is the extent of first reading resolutions.
Second reading.
The Housing, Urban Development, and Zoning Committee reports. The HUD Committee approved the mayor's reappointments to the Board of Adjustment with a due pass recommendation for John Albert and Sally Burke.
Alderman from the 17th, you recognize on second reading of resolution for the Housing, Urban Development, and Zoning Committee report.
Yes, Mr. President, members of the board. The HUD's committee met with both of the appointees, and both of them were recommended out of committee with a due pass record or due accept recommendation. So therefore, I move to accept.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 17th. Entertain a second on that motion. Seconded by the Alderman from the 13th. That we accept the mayor's appointments to the HUD's and the HUD's committee report. Any discussion? Alderman from the first.
Mr. President, members of the board, I just want to say I want to thank the chair for having the vetting process and actually sending recommendations to committee. I got to sit in on that, and he allowed me to ask questions. Mr. Albert and Sally Burke should be made permanent, and some of those people that are permanent should be removed to temporary. They gave very fine answers. They seemed to understand the issues and what their responsibilities were to be a member of the Board of Adjustment. And so I will be voting for them, and just want to say that they gave very good answers, and I was impressed.
All right, thank you. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? All right, it's been moved by the Alderman from the 17th, seconded by the Alderman from the 13th, that we accept the HUD's committee report and the mayor's appointments to the Board of Adjustments. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
That is the extent of second reading resolutions.
We dispense with line item 23, announcements.
Tuesday, June 9th, 2020, streets will have a meeting 10 a.m. via webinar. Public safety will have a meeting at 11 a.m. via webinar. The COVID-19 Special Committee will have a meeting at 1 p.m. via webinar. And once the site is updated, the meeting will be listed. Wednesday, June 10th, 2020, the HUDs will have a meeting at 9 a.m. via webinar. Rules will have a meeting at 10 a.m. via webinar. Public employees will have a meeting at 1 p.m. via webinar. and Friday, June 12th, full board meeting, 10 a.m. via webinar. That is the extent of the announcement.
Any further announcements? Any further announcements? Alderman from the 26th?
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I would just like for us to pause and say happy birthday to our very own Doc Gerard Hollis. He's not watching because he said he took off for his birthday, but I want us to recognize him for his birthday.
Yeah, Doctor, whatever he's doing, I'm sure is budget friendly because, you know, Dr. Hollins is very frugal and very smart with his money. So congratulations and happy birthday to Dr. Hollins. Let's unmute everybody's mics and let's give him a round of applause. And thank you for the great job for us here at the board.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Alderman from the 6th.
Thank you, Mr. President. We are going to have a legislation committee for Board Bill 58 on Thursday morning at 10 a.m.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Alderwoman. I think the Alderman from the 10th may.
Thank you, Mr. President. We will be having a Ways and Means Committee hearing Wednesday at 10 a.m. I believe that slot's available. Purpose will be for the bills that were read today in regard to Metro, and hopefully we will get back the budget from the Board of E&A by then also. If not, then we'll call another meeting. But Wednesday, 10 a.m., Ways and Means.
Well, it looks like Wednesday.
Alderman from the,
It looked like Monday and Tuesday were taken, is all I heard on the announcements.
Okay, all right. So you have Wednesday is pretty full if you'd like to do it Thursday.
We can do it Thursday at 10 a.m.
All right. Madam Clerk, please make note of that. Ways and Means Thursday at 10 a.m.
There's a legislation meeting at 10 a.m. also.
Well, we'll move it to 11 a.m.
That's good.
All right, to 11 a.m.
Um,
Any further announcements? Any further announcements?
yes.
Any further announcements? Anybody? Okay. Hey, I need you guys to put the blue hand up also because I may not catch your hands being up. I think the Alderman from the 20th had an announcement and also the Alderman from the 17th. Alderman from the 20th.
Thank you, Mr. President. We will have a Health and Human Services Committee hearing on Thursday, June the 11th at 11 a.m. We will be hearing Board Bill 27, and we will also be getting an update from the Racial Equity Indicators Report. The author will be writing an update on some data and some other facts.
All right, thank you. Alderman from the 17th.
HUD's meeting is on Wednesday, the 10th at 9. We have some zoning bills, and then we'll be hearing from SLDC on a report that they've prepared that we've been asking for that quantifies how much incentives was offered by project type, by ward, and so forth. So that'll be presented to the HUD's committee as well.
All right, thank you. Any further announcements? Any further announcements? Alderman from the 8th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I was just looking for more information about the CARES Act or the Special Coronavirus Committee. I didn't receive anything about that, and so kind of a surprise that we had pulled it together. Is there a good place to look for information there?
It's posted on the city's website, and we'll send you some additional information also. We'll be
Thank you, Mr. President.
Any further announcements? Any further announcements? Any further announcements? Alderman from the 22nd, you recognize on the motion to excuse.
Mr. President, members of the board, I move to excuse the Alderman, Alderwoman from the 21st and the 27th for necessary.
Second.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 22nd, seconded by the Alderman from the 10th. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
No. No.
You're a little late. Alderman from 22nd recognized on the motion to adjourn.
Mr. President, members of the board, I move to adjourn to next Friday, June 12th at 10 a.m.
It's been
Second.
moved by the Alderman from the 22nd, seconded by the Alderman from the 10th, and the Alderman from the 13th. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you all and have a good week.
Amen.
Thank you.
All
You're
right, thank
welcome.
you. All right.
You too.